I'm really pleased to be here today. Kind of fun to put on my political science hat again a little bit, since I haven't worn it as a professor for 10 years. So it's kind of fun to get in those waters a little bit. This presentation was originally done as part of a discussion that we had several years ago on our fifth principle, which is the right, as you can see there, is the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. The wording of this principle reflects two key dimensions in modern conceptions of democracy, both of which affect us as individuals and as a congregation, as well as our role as citizens. The two dimensions are individualism and community. First of all, individualism. Democracy is a system that protects the individual's right to make choices and to pursue their talents and interests wherever they may lead. A key individual right is simply to be left alone. The right of conscience focuses on the right of each individual to act according to his own conscience, regardless of whether others may agree. In the classical liberal view articulated in the 17th century by John Locke, government is necessarily primarily to protect the rights of individuals, and majority rule is a way to ensure the consent of the governed to governmental authority. Collective power is always to be tempered with the protection of individual rights, even in many cases from the actions of the majority. Government has a limited role to play in the lives of individuals. And of course, this fits with the free market ideology of capitalism, in which the government stays at arm's length from the process of production. Of course, this runs into a contradiction when the actions of the market drastically limit the quality of people's lives, as when workers with few real choices are exploited. It also, to some degree, encourages the adoption of what I would call the citizen as consumer view of politics. Our role is simply to choose between predetermined candidates and issues that are marketed to us. And of course, modern economic theory creates a distrust of any collective choices and tries to reduce societal choices to a series of individual choices. The second dimension of democracy, though, is community. Democracy is a system in which citizens come together to make collective decisions that affect their lives. This can be in a formal governmental setting and governmental institutions, or in the informal relationships that we often refer to as civil society. The key individual right here is one of participation or representation, not the right simply to be left alone. This view stresses participation as a sacred obligation of individuals, not just something they do when a particular individual interests are threatened. One view of participation says that individuals come into the collective decision-making process with a relatively fixed set of preferences for certain outcomes. And so the actual outcome of deliberation is a compromise between these preferences, which often fully satisfies no one. But another view of participation says that individuals can deliberate together and come up with an alternative that is truly satisfying to all or most participants. This deliberative democracy model involves a willingness of the participants to change and grow during the process of deliberation. I think one way to sort these things out is to come back to the first principle, which is the inherent worth and dignity of all people. We often talk about freedom and democracy as if they were ends in themselves, just good because they're good. But I would argue that they are good because they enhance the worth and dignity of people. Individuals thrive and grow more fully in an open society where they have a voice. The famous English philosopher John Stuart Mill articulated this view of what we might call positive freedom in his essay on liberty, which I really recommend that you read sometimes. It's only about 100 pages long, and it's still one of the more eloquent statements of this. So how do these two dimensions then affect us as a congregation? Do our members view our congregation from a perspective of limited liability? That is, they come as long as the congregation meets their needs, and if it doesn't, then they leave. Alternatively, do members view the congregation as a community in which they can actively participate to meet their needs and those of others? I hope it's the latter. Of course, at some point, an individual's right of conscience might compel him to separate from any community if their basic values are offended, but we hope that does not happen within our congregation. I'll make one final point about democracy before I end. When the idea of representative government was first proposed in the 17th century, their idea of a citizen was a white male with property. The new capitalist class wanted its interests represented over against traditional monarchists and aristocratic power, and that's one reason they supported the articulation of what to them was representative government, not necessarily democracy where everybody was represented, but government where they were represented. It was simply beyond the imagination or the values of almost all 17th and 18th century people to see non-Europeans, whether indigenous or African, as fully part of the human family, and therefore entitled to the same rights as white males. This is why Thomas Jefferson could write, "All men are created equal," while owning over 100 enslaved Africans. However, the thing about democracy is that it is an idea that is simply too big to be contained by the prejudices of those who originally articulated it. Once you make the bold statement that all are equal, it becomes harder to exclude anyone from that status. So the 19th century saw the notion of equality first expanded from white men of property to all white men. And then, of course, after the Civil War, to black men. That was in theory, at least. It didn't actually work out that way in practice. And finally, of course, in the 20th century, women were included in this notion of equality. And later, through the civil rights movement, the real voting rights of people of color were secured. So I think the challenge in our society and our community is to continue to ask who is not included and to try to make our definitions of equality and community as broad and inclusive as possible.
Boy, am I glad that we as a nation have expanded this idea of democracy to include everyone. I certainly would not be standing up here today if that hadn't happened. So I'm here to talk about how do we create this? Can you hear me now? Okay. So how do we do this? How do we create a democracy? And how do we continue to expand these ideas of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness into today's topics? So today I'm going to try to give you some, tackle these questions and give you some tools and some ideas on how I've been able to do it. I've been a part of this congregation for 8 years now. And I think we serve as a pretty good representation of what a healthy democracy looks like. So in my mind, we're already doing it, but we're not perfect. So yeah, I'm going to offer you some ideas and tools derived from my own experience on how we can take care of ourselves as individuals while living our 7 principles here in this community and out there in the world. Standing up for everything we do as you use to make this world a better place for everybody. So let me start off by saying welcome to our 11 new members today. We have you for life. Would you be interested in signing up for 10 committees? This actually brings me to my first point. It is okay to say no, to take a breath, to take a break. I hope that you are able to share your time, gifts, and talents with us with enthusiasm and inspiration in whatever you're called to do. But sometimes, in order to hear inspiration more clearly, we need to take a breath, a break, or say no. Number 2, and I actually have seven tips. Forgive and forget. I hope you never need to do this, but sometimes when there is an overabundance of everyone expressing their ideas and giving their opinions, and with everyone having different ideas about how things should get done and when they should get done and how they should get done, there can be misunderstandings, and it can feel like no one's paying attention. Feelings can get hurt. And sometimes people just have bad days, and you get in the middle of it. Forgiveness really is less about the other person in the situation, because we really don't know what other people are thinking or where they're coming from or just what they got going on. Forgiveness is more about what's going on within you, in your heart, in your mind, in your spirit. Do whatever you need to feel better. This doesn't make them right or excuse what they've done, but it will allow for peace and clarity. So this is no longer tugging at your heartstrings and clouding your judgment. This brings me to my third suggestion. Do your best to find the value in whatever that person's perspective brings to the subject. This does not mean that you agree with them or try to argue with them. This is all done in the privacy of your own mind and heart. Maybe their view is giving you an opportunity to be clearer about how you want to feel or think about things. Working through this in your own mind and heart has the potential to inspire you to solutions that only you can bring. Meditate. The first 3 steps are all easier done when we regularly meditate. I recommend at least 10 minutes daily, 20 if possible. I know with my busy family, I can't always do that, but let me tell you, I feel it when I go without. I can always tell. My definition of meditation, focusing on something really, really boring, like a ticking clock, or the hum of an air conditioner, or the fridge, or feeling your breath going in and out of your body. You're not planning anything, you're not visualizing anything, you're not thinking of anything, you're not telling yourself what you could or should have done. You are simply allowing for stillness and listening for silence. When your mind wanders on a thought, do your best to bring your attention back to whatever it is that is boring. When you've reached a state of clarity, you might feel energy flow through your body in ripples or waves. You might sway. You'll feel it viscerally somewhere, usually. Meditation brings us back to a state of inspiration and provides replenishment, rejuvenation, clarity, and peace in our bodies and minds. And there's a ton more information all over the internet on how meditation impacts us in our bodies and individually and in communities. Number 5, look for things to celebrate within yourself, your family, your friends, our community, everywhere you go. I loved in the story up there how she was like, thank you for everything. Thank you. It's a great habit to get into. Everywhere you go, look for what is working and what is going right. This helps us to stay open, or to keep our minds open to new possibilities and potentials. Number 6, think of your why. There is a reason why each of us are here. What has brought you here? Why do you continue to come? And number 7, know things change. You've probably realized that the services are as varied as the members. And if things don't resonate with you, or maybe not as much, wait it out. Things have a way of shifting and moving, evolving, and growing. So, How do we, as you use, bring what we got going here, our beloved community, out into the community out there? Even if we get one or two of these going, I think we're moving in the right direction. Okay, so let's say we've done all this, right? We're here, we're feeling great, we're taking care of ourselves internally. We've had a few misunderstandings here with some other people, but it's okay. We've gotten past all that. And we're even coming up with solutions to work around it. We love this place. And we love everyone around us. And we're ready. We're ready to go out there to actively work towards the good of all others, to bring life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to the subjects of today, whatever this might be for you: reproductive rights, gender and racial equality, voter reform, immigration, universal health care, my favorite, universal basic income, right? We want to bring these things, whatever it is, to our society so that everyone can feel valued and loved and taken care of. We're ready to change the world. So there we go, right? And we run straight into a Trumper. And we think, okay, I've dealt with Trumpers before, some in my own family. They just might not know what's going on right now. But this isn't any Trumper. This person is staring back at you, pointing. You and the people like you are the reason for all the things going wrong in this country. Stop. Take a breath. I can't help but stop. This feels like a punch in the gut, a slap in the face. What I'm doing is going to help you. You just don't know it yet. Forgive? Well, I'd love to feel better, but this pisses me off. They think I'm messing up this country? They're messing up this country. And I'd rather punch them back than forgive them. Find value in what they're saying? They're either ignorant or a white supremacist. I don't think so. Meditate? Oh, yeah, that's not happening. Celebrate them? Ugh. Why am I here? Why am I here? For me, it's my 4 children and allowing my life to be a demonstration of what I believe. Their futures are worth standing up for, just like mine was for those who came before me. And now I can breathe. And I can take another breath. And with every exhale, I allow the hurt and the anger to go with it. And as I feel better and lighter, my strength returns and I can stand again. And I close my eyes and reach for the calm, quiet stillness from deep within. And I feel a gentle and loving energy that stands with me in knowing we can make the systems of the world a more loving place for all. I feel stronger and clearer, recognizing this was an opportunity for me to either join them in their anger hate and confusion of the world or rise from it. Through my conviction and standing more fully in what I believe, I have found this newfound strength and clarity. And now I look to my trumper, not in anger, hurt, or blame, but in compassion and humility, because they helped me to become more of who I am and what I choose to stand for. And now I can feel the energy of inspiration of those flowing through me, of those who have come before me, the inspired colonists and abolitionists and civil rights. And I know I'm on the right path, rejuvenated, ready for what's next, because I know things are changing.